Now, starting off a podcast talking about Greenland and the World Economic Forum and Davos, Switzerland, and a bunch of billionaires getting together and talking about policy. Not exactly normally the most exciting thing in the world, right? I totally get it. I understand it. Things are a little different this time, though, because it looks as though Trump went over to the World Economic Forum and is coming back with Greenland in his pocket. And you're saying, Greenland? What are we building, Trump Tower? He's got a reason, but more importantly, the reaction he got from world leaders this time, as opposed to some of the other clowns we sent over there, it actually is really remarkable. There's a lot different this time. Trust me on this one. We got some controversy to start the day. Speedway. Are they going to be Bud Lighted? Well, I got a little 24-hour rule whenever a company makes a bad public relations move. It may not be their fault. Let's give them a little time, but it is true. In the streets of Minneapolis yesterday, what appears to be a $20 an hour shift manager decided that ICE is not welcome at a Speedway location. Here's the problem. We haven't heard a statement from Speedway or its parent company yet. Anyway, we'll get into all that stuff. Thanks for finding the live stream, Wicked Radio, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on X and on YouTube and on Facebook. Audio podcast after that, and replay, of course. Thanks for the downloads. Let's get to it. Let's get to the controversy before we go overseas. Speedway. Are we about to boycott them? A little 24-hour rule when this kind of stuff happens. Let's give a company time to collect the facts. Let's see exactly what happened before anybody makes any rash decisions. But this part we do know because, as we know, everything's documented now by independent journalists. So ICE agents went to a Speedway location in Minneapolis yesterday just to fuel up, maybe go inside, get some Slim Jims. I don't know. But here they were. Now, you got to pay attention to what appears to be the manager who likes to say, "Get out of here, not welcome in my location." Okay, let's get to the bottom of it.
ICE does not belong in this property at all. We do not support ICE. Get off of our property. Bye. 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 Get on the way.
Now, looking at the guy, my first reaction if I was one of those ICE agents would be, do you work here? Or are you just some random homeless dude who came by and said, get off my property? What do you mean your property? The first thing we got to do, though, is take a step back and say, you know what? I'll give you this perspective as on the business side of me. A shift manager, an employee, whether he's part-time, full-time, owner-operated, whatever it is, this goes to show you how easily it is for one bad apple to tarnish an entire brand. This is why I have a 24-hour rule when it comes to this kind of stuff. Now, the Bud Light example was totally different. That was just like, we all saw that and we said, oh, this is just too easy. This is too stupid. We're all going to Bud Light this. We're going to Bud Light this and push back. This is a little bit different. Now, but it's true. Have we heard back from Speedway, the parent company, or the parent company being 7-Eleven, which apparently owns Speedway? Now, they may have a business structure where they're all owner-operated and it actually was his property. I don't know. But as of right now, and we're coming up on that 24-hour deadline, we have not heard anything, not a peep, from Speedway or 7-Eleven about this. Maybe by the time you watch or listen to this later, not on the live stream portion of it, maybe they've made a statement, apologized, things have been corrected. Maybe. Or maybe not. But we're coming up on that 24-hour deadline. I think given a company, a big company like that, 24 hours is plenty ample time for them to make a statement. Plenty. So we'll see how it shakes out. But that right there, what we just witnessed, that's unacceptable. I don't care who you are. I don't care where it is. These are agents, human beings doing their job. Whether you disagree with it or not, it's kind of like the Hilton thing. Remember that from a couple of weeks ago? Where they weren't allowed inside their hotels? DHS employees couldn't book a room? No. We're not going to allow that. That's not going to happen. So I'll give Speedway and 7-Eleven a little bit of time before we blast them. But looking at my virtual watch, which I don't have, that time is almost up, so we shall see. All right, let's get to it. The World Economic Forum in Davos. Normally, I have zero interest in talking about this. None whatsoever. It's the same globalist elites who are just talking about how bad America is, and this is where the Green New Deal came from, and, you know, the mass migration of Europe and all that other crap, and it's just depressing, and I get it. And it's the last thing you want to hear as well. This was different. First of all, let's get to This is like a 3-day thing. Let's get to a little bit of breaking news on this. We have a new international peace accord that's been signed, brokered by, whether you want to give him credit or not, President Trump. This was the latest, and then we'll work backwards in what he said here and what he won with Greenland. But here's the announcement for something that just happened and was ratified today.
Congratulations, President Trump. The charter is now in full force, and the Board of Peace is now an official international organization.
The Board of Peace. He was able to go over there, and he got even Russia on board with this and some other very important countries, and they said, okay, we're going to kind of bypass NATO and bypass the UN, and we're going to create the Board of Peace. Just as an American citizen, anytime I see us getting together with other countries on our own to decide that peace is better, let's simplify this, seems to be a good thing. Seems to be a major accomplishment. Now go back and compare this to Biden when he was going over there pooping his pants, embarrassing us, and walking off the wrong end of the stage. Might remember that, right? We all laughed. Look at the difference now, and look at the reception he got. Now, you'd never know it by how the U.S. media, your favorite mainstream news outlets, are portraying this. He's embarrassing us in front of the world. Oh, no. Look at the reception he's getting. He got a standing ovation. He got multiple applause, even though he was like blasting Canada and blasting Europe, deservedly so, and calling it the Green New Scam. And we'll get to Greenland in a second. He got a very, very warm welcome from these other countries. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Now, juxtapose that with what this jackass did, apparently, over there. Because it's not just the American president. It's not just business leaders and our economists going over there. They've also got some select politicians like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, going over there. Now, any other year, pre-Trump even coming down the golden escalator and getting involved with politics, these were the people like Gavin Newsom, just heralded as just heroes of, oh, he's such a softie. Europe saw that and they said, oh, we're going to get away with whatever we want in America because of this guy. Look how this idiot embarrassed us with his little prop here today. Gavin Newsom at the World Economic Forum last night. This little joke of his fell like a lead balloon.
They're the new Trump signature series Kneepads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out. And I just want to sort of... It's a serious moment. It actually, we laugh. Anyway, these are available.
Wow. If you couldn't hear that or see what he was talking about, he brought out branded Trump signature knee pads. What he was trying to imply there were all the European and world leaders who are getting on their knees for President Trump. Yeah, the joke didn't land very well. That's what we have now. That's what used to be applauded. That's what we used to export over to the World Economic Forum, and they would go, "Oh, you're so amazing." Do you hear the reaction or the lack thereof from the audience? They're not having it anymore. Here's another beauty we sent over to Davos. Now, you got to ask yourself, why in the world would the president of the American Teachers Union be in Davos, Switzerland, before world leaders? Any question you ever had about, we love our teachers. I love teachers. Teachers Union, one of my biggest enemies on earth. They need to be defunded. They need to be broken up. They need to go away because they don't serve teachers. They sure as hell don't serve students. And why is she going to Europe pleading her case? Let's go to Randy Weingarten for a second and keep that question in your mind.
So part of what we're trying to do here is say, how do we create this partnership between education, labor, government, and industry with the goal of creating these pathways so that kids, when they come out of high school or they come out of college, don't have to start saying, what am I going to do next? The pathways become important, and to create those pathways, you also have to create a curriculum, and you have to create this engagement with each other. And the last thing...
Wow. Now, that doesn't seem like much. It's really not, unless you've been a sworn enemy of Randy Weingarten and the Teachers Union for as long as I have. I can't describe how much I hate her and hate them. I just hate, and even if you don't have kids in public school or at any school-age kids, this affects all of us. This affects everybody. Why is any suspicion you ever had of that organization just got proven right there? Why does the president of the Teachers Union go to the World Economic Forum and start talking about how they need to create a curriculum to teach American kids? Because of exactly what they've done until now. This globalist initiative of America. Look at everything that you've seen, kids, and maybe you've experienced this or at least heard about it. Everything you've seen that's been bad, that's been teaching kids, America's bad. It's a racist country. Socialism good. The LGBTQ stuff. The teaching kids the transgender issues in second grade. All of that stuff. That's where that comes from right there. This isn't the first time she's gone over there. This isn't the first time the Teachers Union has pleaded for help to form American curriculum for the world. She's begging them for help because American parents, after COVID, saw through the nightmare that they are. This may be the beginning of the end for the Teachers Union because she's not getting away with it anymore. There is no way on earth that organization should exist. Destroy the Teachers Union and support teachers and support kids. They're not doing it. But again, like all things that are named, the Teachers Union, how could you be against that? They're teachers. We love teachers. That's why it's in name only, Teachers Union, so that you don't, when you look behind the scenes of what they actually are, they worked maybe the hardest to keep kids out of school during COVID. It's all about power. It's all about power. They have worked feverishly to keep poor kids in underperforming schools. They have fought against school choice. The Teachers Union is horrific. It's one of the worst organizations that has ever come across this country, and it needs to be busted up. Her exposing herself like that, because now everybody's paying attention, may be the beginning of the world, beginning of the end. As she goes before the world and begs for help, that's a sign. Keep an eye on that one. If you fix American schools and prepare American workers to be America first, that's what's going to make everything better. She is horrific. All right, let's get to the biggest deal. It's making the most headlines. Again, and the headlines from your favorite mainstream news sources are, Trump bullies the world and tries to invade Greenland. You think I'm kidding. I've actually seen the word invade thrown into headlines with this. That's how ridiculous they are. But it does look as though he's coming back from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, with Greenland in his pocket. We actually may. Now, why? You got to ask yourself why. And you have to ask yourself through this filter, as an American citizen, as a taxpayer, as just a regular person, as a patriot, why do I care? And that's a relevant question, I think. Are we just playing around with international politics? Is this a game of risk? Why do we need it? He's given a good explanation for that as far as American strategic advantage and being there. He explained it pretty well, and he said a framework of a deal is in place, and he had a little impromptu press conference yesterday in typical Trump fashion. He was talking to reporters and said, we're getting everything we want. We're everything we want and more. You're going to love it. The deal is in place. I can't tell you everything right now, but you're going to love the deal. Now, that was yesterday. Now, this morning in Europe time, he was talking to Maria Bartiromo, and she asked the very relevant question, and good for her for asking why we even need this thing. It's a little tough to hear, but here they are.
We will have everything we want. We're getting everything we want at no cost.
So the Golden Dome will be on Greenland?
A piece of it, yes, and it's a very important part because everything comes over Greenland. If the bad guys start shooting, it comes over Greenland. So we knock it down. It's pretty infallible. It's amazing. You know, Ronald Reagan had the idea a long time ago, but we didn't have any technology at that point. The concept was great, but there was no technology. Now we have unbelievable technology. I mean, virtually 100%.
So he's talking about American strategic advantage as far as protecting our own interests. And we also know, if you paid attention to this at all, that China and Russia have been trying to really seize a lot of territory and actually operate wide open in the Arctic region. So it's important that way. This is how I boil it down as just being an American citizen. Does it protect my family? Is it good for my country? Does it make us a stronger nation? Again, through the America First filter. I can't see anything that doesn't. Of course it does. And it looks like something we should have done a long time ago. But something's fascinating about this. And it's, again, I don't know if we've seen Trump in the public eye for what? How many years now? 50 years, really, honestly? As a businessman, as a media figure, now as president, obviously. We know how the guy operates. We should all understand this now. And sometimes we still forget. Now, what does he do? When he first started talking about Greenland, what did he start doing? He started asking for everything, right? We want the entire country. We want the whole thing. We're going to have beautiful hotels. We're going to have beautiful this and that. Put out the ridiculous, right? Just to get the world talking about it and the concept. And everything he's ever won, both in business or as American president, has started off this way. He asks for the moon and something absolutely preposterous, gets people talking about it, plants the seed, then it actually winds up being at the negotiation table, and then he gets what he actually was hoping for all along, which is way less than the ridiculous, but it cuts to the core of what he actually wants. Here's somebody who can explain it way better than I can. Here's a Fox News contributor about the Trump plan. It was in the art of the deal. It was in the book. We see how the guy operates. Byron York, I think is his name. He explained this beautifully yesterday on Fox News about how Trump negotiates. Sometimes we forget this, but he's right.
And I have to say, this was kind of classic Trump, wasn't it? I mean, Trump wants something, and then he asks for 10 times that, and the other side flips out, and they go back and forth and go back and forth. It becomes a huge news story. Finally, they make an offer. He agrees to it, and it's kind of what they could have gotten in the first place.
And says they're wonderful people and happy to work with them, and suddenly it's this dismount that we could predict by how it's set up at the beginning.
Yes, and the other side's happy because they think they dodged a bullet. So it's just classic Trump.
Yeah.
They're both exactly right about that. It's really fascinating. It just is. And I think you can actually apply this in your business life, your personal life, whatever it is. But we've seen it so many times now. He asks for something. Now, here's an example of this, right? A year and a half ago, if you had said, we're going to acquire large parts of Greenland in a strategic move, you would have been like, what? Greenland? What for? Then all of a sudden, Trump starts talking about it. And he starts sending out, and he did, memes. Remember, like the meme that I just sent out a little while ago on my X account here of the Trump Tower on Greenland? Trump reposted that, by the way. The ridiculous things, asks for ridiculous things, over the top, way too much. And then all of a sudden it gets the media talking about it, which helps him again. And then it gets the people he wants to negotiate with talking about it, which helps him again. And then they come to the table, and then they, like Brett Baer says right there, who he's trying to negotiate with think they dodged a bullet. And he says, I didn't want that anyway, and I got what I want. And now here we are. And now here we are coming back from the World Economic Forum. We have struck a deal, details to follow, with Greenland for an American strategic advantage, which will keep all of us, you, me, and our families safer. You don't have to like Trump personality-wise, but there's no doubt, nobody with half a brain cell can argue that he's not fighting for the American interest. Tim Burchett, dadgum Tim Burchett says it best. Do I want him teaching Sunday school? No, I do not. But I want him negotiating for America. And that's the bottom line. All right, another takeaway. On that whole Speedway story, let's give him a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. And by the time you're watching or hearing this later on in the replay, they may be out of time to make a statement of why they were freezing out ICE agents of their Minneapolis location and not letting them in and kicking them out. Can't have that. That's not good. But we'll give them a little bit of time. You kind of have to. All right. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Live streaming live, that is, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time on X and on Facebook and on YouTube. Audio podcast posted after that. And then the replay on all that stuff, which is where most of you see it or hear it. So I appreciate you as always. Wow. Is it Thursday? It is. Make it a wicked awesome one. Tomorrow's Friday and closer to the weekend. I'll talk to you then.